The alarm rang through the Viridian Nexus like a broken bell. Ambassador Thexilon lifted all four of his arms in frustration. Another emergency. Another problem that would take weeks to solve. He looked at the holographic display floating above his desk and felt his antenna droop with disappointment. A mining ship was in trouble. The vessel had 47 workers from 6 different species. They were stuck in the Kragath Expanse, a dangerous place filled with spinning rocks and deadly radiation. The ship had lost power. Life support was failing. The crew had maybe 36 hours before they ran out of air. Thexilon called the emergency council meeting. Representatives from different alien species gathered in the main hall. The Voskerites stood tall on their multiple legs. The Quellings floated in their special tanks. The Drachnids clicked their claws nervously. Everyone knew what this meant. They would need to organize a rescue mission. Chief Engineer Morvan spoke first. His gelatinous body rippled as he moved. He projected calculations onto the central display. The numbers were not good. A proper rescue would take at least 2 weeks to organize. They needed special ships, special equipment, special training for the radiation storms. The council members looked at each other. 2 weeks was too long. The mining crew would be dead in 36 hours. Someone suggested they could send a message to the families. Prepare memorial services. These things happen sometimes in space. Dangerous jobs had dangerous results. That was when Captain Daesung spoke up. He stood near the back of the room. The human was shorter than most species present. He wore a simple uniform with an Earth symbol on the shoulder. His dark eyes were calm but determined. The indomitable spirit can be ready in 10 minutes. We volunteer for the rescue mission. The room went silent. Several aliens turned to look at the human captain. Thexilon felt his antenna twitch. Humans were new to the Galactic Council. Earth had joined only 3 months ago. They were on probation, learning the rules, trying to fit in. Nobody expected them to volunteer for something this dangerous. Morvan's body rippled with what might have been laughter. Captain Daesung, with respect, your species is very new here. The Kragath Expanse is extremely dangerous. The radiation alone would damage most ships. The asteroid field requires expert navigation. Perhaps you should observe how we handle these situations. Daesung did not look offended. He simply nodded and pulled out a datapad. With your permission, I would like to show you our ship's capabilities. The indomitable spirit was built for Earth conditions. Our shielding can handle the radiation. Our hull is reinforced for high-stress environments. And my crew has training for rescue operations in extreme conditions. Thexilon studied the human. The captain seemed sincere. But humans were so small, so soft-looking. They had only 2 arms and 2 legs. Their planet, Earth, was listed in the database as habitable. Surely they could not handle conditions that challenged proper spacefaring species. Still, 47 lives were at stake. Thexilon made a decision. Captain, I will review Earth's file and your ship's specifications. If everything checks out, you have permission to attempt the rescue. But please understand, if the conditions are too dangerous, you must retreat immediately. We cannot risk losing more lives. Daesung smiled, a strange expression that showed his teeth. Understood, Ambassador. We will not take unnecessary risks. My crew knows their limits. After the meeting ended, Thexilon returned to his office. He accessed the galactic database and searched for Earth. What he found made his blood run cold. Earth was not classified as a normal habitable world. It was marked as a Class 12 death world. The details were disturbing. Earth had gravity 40% higher than galactic standard. That explained why humans looked so compact and muscular. They grew up carrying extra weight every single day. The planet had extreme temperature variations. Frozen poles and burning deserts. Massive storms that could flatten cities. Earthquakes that split the ground open. Volcanoes that buried entire regions in ash. The biological section was even worse. Earth had experienced 5 major extinction events. Most complex life had been wiped out multiple times. Yet somehow life kept coming back. Kept evolving. Kept surviving. The current dominant species, humans, were apex predators. They hunted other creatures for food. They had forward-facing eyes designed for tracking prey. They had endurance that let them chase animals until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Thexilon read about human history, wars that killed millions, diseases that swept across continents, natural disasters that happened so often. Humans had special warning systems and emergency procedures. They built their cities knowing earthquakes and hurricanes would come. They planned for disaster like other species planned for festivals. The ambassador sat back in his chair. Perhaps he had made a mistake. Perhaps humans were more capable than they appeared. Or perhaps they were overconfident fools who would die in the Kragath expanse like so many others. On the docking platform, the indomitable spirit prepared for departure. The ship was strange-looking compared to standard galactic vessels. It was thick and heavy, built like a fortress instead of an elegant cruiser. The hull had extra plating. The engines were oversized. Everything about it screamed overkill. Inside the ship, Dr. Hee-jin checked her medical supplies. She was the chief medical officer, responsible for keeping the crew healthy and treating any injured survivors they might find. She arranged her equipment with practiced efficiency: trauma kits, radiation medicine, emergency surgery tools, everything she might need. Lieutenant Minho sat in the pilot's chair running pre-flight checks. His fingers moved across the controls with smooth confidence. He had flown through Earth's atmosphere during storms that would ground any sane pilot. He had navigated through mountain ranges in zero visibility. The asteroid field would be challenging, but he was ready. Captain Dae-sung walked through the ship, checking on his crew. 23 humans, all trained and prepared. They came from different parts of Earth, different cultures and languages, but they worked together like a single organism. That was another human trait. They were social pack hunters who protected their own. "Ready, Captain," Minho reported. "All systems green. Course plotted for the Kragath expanse. We can launch on your command." Dae-sung settled into his command chair. "Take us out, Lieutenant. Those people need help, and we are not going to let them down." The indomitable spirit lifted off from the docking platform exactly 8 minutes after the meeting ended. Observers from different species watched the human ship accelerate toward the Kragath expanse. Many of them shook their heads or made gestures of sympathy. The humans seemed brave. Foolishly brave. They would probably realize their mistake soon and turn back. In his office, Thexilan monitored the human ship's progress. He kept the Earth database file open on his secondary screen. Class 12 Deathworld, Apex Predators, Survival Specialists. Maybe, just maybe, those 47 miners had a chance after all. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were truly capable of, and nothing would ever be quite the same again. The indomitable spirit entered the Kragath expanse at a speed that made the monitoring station operators gasp. On the Viridian Nexus, alarms started beeping. Engineer Morvan rushed to his control panel, his gelatinous body rippling with concern. "They are going too fast," he announced to the control room. "At that velocity, they will not have time to avoid the asteroids. They need to slow down immediately." Ambassador Thexilan watched the display screen. The human ship was indeed moving at an aggressive speed. Most rescue vessels approached danger zones carefully, slowly. They took time to scan each sector before advancing, but the humans were charging forward like they owned the space. "Should we order them to retreat?" a Drachnid officer asked. His claws clicked nervously on his console. "They are violating standard safety protocols. This is reckless behavior." Thexilan raised one hand. "Wait, let us see what they do. They claimed their ship was built for this. Let us give them a chance to prove it." Inside the indomitable spirit, Lieutenant Minho sat calmly in the pilot's seat. His eyes tracked multiple displays at once: asteroid positions, radiation levels, navigation paths. His hands moved across the controls with quick, precise movements. To him, this felt natural, normal even. 3 large asteroids coming in from the port side, reported Ensign Jiwoo from the tactical station. "Impact in 45 seconds if we maintain current course." "Acknowledged," Minho replied. He did not sound worried. His fingers danced across the controls. The ship tilted sharply to the right, then rolled upward, then dove down at an angle that would make most aliens lose consciousness from the G-forces. The indomitable spirit slipped between the asteroids with meters to spare. The crew barely felt the maneuver. They were strapped in securely. Their bodies were used to Earth's heavy gravity. These forces were uncomfortable but manageable. Back on the Nexus, the monitoring room fell silent. Morvan's body went completely still. That maneuver should have knocked the crew unconscious. At minimum, they should be vomiting from nausea. How are they still functioning? A Voskarite analyst pulled up Earth's gravity specifications. "Ambassador, humans evolved under 1.4 times galactic standard gravity. Their bodies can withstand forces that would crush most species. Those maneuvers probably feel normal to them." Thexilan stared at the screen. The human ship continued its aggressive approach. It dodged asteroids like a fish swimming through coral. Every movement was controlled, precise. These were not lucky accidents. This was skill. Radiation storm ahead, Jiwoo announced. Class 7 intensity. Recommend increasing shield power to maximum. Already done, responded Engineer Taehyung from his station. Shields at 100%. Hull integrity holding. We are good to proceed. Captain Daesung watched his crew work. They were calm, focused. This mission was dangerous by galactic standards, but humans came from a planet where danger was part of daily life. They had evolved to handle stress, to make quick decisions under pressure, to keep functioning when things went wrong. The ship entered the radiation storm. The shields glowed as they absorbed the energy. Alarms beeped warnings, but nothing critical. The human vessel pushed through the storm like a submarine diving through ocean currents. On the Nexus, Morvan calculated the radiation exposure. That level should be damaging their systems. Their sensors should be failing. Why are they not reporting any problems? A technician checked the human ship's specifications again. Their shielding is much thicker than standard, sir, and their hull is reinforced with materials designed for high radiation environments. It says here that Earth has natural radiation belts that would be classified as hazardous zones. Their ships are built to handle it. Thexilon felt his antenna twitch. Earth had radiation belts? Natural ones? Around their home planet? What kind of world had these creatures come from? Dr. Hyejin worked in the medical bay preparing for the rescue operation. She organized supplies while the ship bucked and rolled through space. A container fell from a shelf. She caught it with one hand without looking up from her work. Years of medical training in Earth's emergency rooms had taught her to work through chaos. A communication came through from the Nexus. This is Chief Engineer Morvan calling the Indomitable Spirit. Are your crew members experiencing any distress from the navigation maneuvers? Do you require medical support? Hyejin activated her comm unit. This is Dr. Hyejin. All crew members are healthy and functional. No injuries to report. The maneuvers are well within tolerable ranges for human physiology. There was a long pause. Then Morvan's voice came back, sounding confused. Within tolerable ranges? Doctor, your ship just performed maneuvers that should require the crew to be in suspended animation. How are you even conscious? Hyejin smiled. She had heard similar confusion before. Engineer Morvan, humans evolved on a high-gravity world with an unstable climate. Our bodies are designed for stress. We train in extreme conditions as part of basic education. What you consider dangerous is what we consider normal flight operations. She paused, then added, for comparison, I completed my medical residency training in a coastal hospital that experienced 3 hurricanes and 1 earthquake during my tenure. We performed surgeries during power failures. We treated trauma patients while the building shook. This mission is actually quite calm by those standards. The communication channel went silent. On the Nexus, Morvan stared at his console. The other species in the control room exchanged glances. Hurricanes? Earthquakes? During medical training? These humans were insane. We're incredibly tough. Maybe both. Target vessel located, Jiwoo announced. Distance 12,000 kilometers. Adjusting course for final approach. Minho brought the ship around in a sweeping arc. The maneuver was beautiful, efficient. He had found the stranded mining vessel in less than 4 hours. The original estimate had been 3 days with conventional navigation. Captain Daesung stood and straightened his uniform. All crew prepare for rescue operations. Let us bring those miners home. The Indomitable Spirit moved into position near the damaged mining vessel. The human crew had just accomplished something the galactic species considered impossible. They had navigated a deadly asteroid field at high speed. They had survived radiation storms that should have disabled their ship. They had done it all in a fraction of the expected time, and they had barely broken a sweat. On the Viridian Nexus, Ambassador Thexilon sat back in his chair. He looked at the Earth database file still open on his screen. Class 12 Deathworld. Perhaps that classification was more important than he had realized. Perhaps these humans were not just brave fools rushing into danger. Perhaps they were something far more impressive, and far more terrifying. The mining vessel looked bad. Really bad. The ship was wedged between 2 large asteroids, its hull cracked in several places. Atmosphere was leaking out in small wisps that froze instantly in the vacuum of space. The emergency beacon blinked weakly, powered by the last backup battery. Captain Daesung studied the situation from the bridge. Standard docking is impossible. The ship is too damaged and positioned badly. We will need to do an EVA extraction. Lieutenant Minho brought the indomitable spirit as close as possible. He held position with precision, compensating for the asteroid's rotation and the gravitational eddies swirling through the area. It was like hovering a helicopter in a tornado. But Minho had actually done that during rescue training on Earth. Ensign Jiwoo and Engineer Taehyung suited up in the airlock. Their EVA suits were bulky things, overbuilt by galactic standards. The suits were designed to handle Earth's deep ocean pressures. In space, that over-engineering became a survival advantage. Ready for deployment, Jiwoo reported. Her voice was calm over the comm system. Taehyung checked his equipment one final time and gave a thumbs up. Proceed with caution, Daesung ordered. Stay in constant communication. If anything goes wrong, you come back immediately. The airlock opened. Jiwoo and Taehyung pushed off from the ship using small thruster packs. They floated across the gap between the two vessels. Debris spun around them like deadly confetti. A piece of metal the size of a fist zipped past Jiwoo's helmet. She did not flinch. On the Viridian Nexus, the control room watched through the transmitted video feed. Morvan's body rippled with anxiety. They are in the debris field without safety tethers. This violates every protocol we have established. Ambassador Thexilon did not respond. He was too focused on watching the humans work. They moved with confidence through an environment that should terrify them. Space was cold, airless, and filled with radiation, but the humans acted like they were taking a casual walk. Jiwoo reached the damaged mining vessel first. She activated her cutting torch and began working on the emergency hatch. The metal was warped from impact damage. It would not open normally. Sparks flew in the vacuum, creating brief flashes of light. Taehyung anchored himself to the hull with magnetic boots. He started setting up a temporary airlock tube between the two ships. It was like building a bridge in zero gravity while dodging flying rocks. His hands moved with practiced efficiency. Inside the damaged vessel, 47 miners huddled together in the remaining pressurized section. They were scared. Oxygen was running low. Some of them were injured. They had sent their distress call not expecting anyone to reach them in time. Then they heard a sound, metal cutting through metal. Someone was at the emergency hatch. One of the Voskerite miners scrambled to the small porthole window. What he saw made all four of his eyes widen in shock. "Humans!" the Voskerite shouted. "Humans are here. They came for us." The other miners pressed forward to look. None of them had ever seen a human before. Earth was so new to the Galactic Council. But there they were. Two humans in spacesuits, working to rescue them from a situation that should have been impossible to reach. The emergency hatch finally gave way. Jiwoo pulled it open and peered inside. "Hello. Is everyone okay in there? We are here to get you out." The miners stared at her. This young human woman had just cut through reinforced metal with her bare hands. Well, with a torch. But still, she made it look easy. Taehyung finished setting up the temporary airlock. "We have a safe passage to our ship, but we need to move quickly. This structure is not stable. It could collapse at any moment." The evacuation began. Jiwoo and Taehyung helped the miners move through the airlock tube one at a time. Some of the miners were injured and could not move well. Jiwoo simply picked them up. She carried a Quelline engineer who weighed almost as much as she did. In Earth gravity, this would be hard. In low gravity, it was manageable. Halfway through the evacuation, disaster struck. One of the asteroids shifted position slightly. The movement caused stress on the damaged mining vessel. A support beam cracked with a sound like thunder. Part of the hull began to collapse. 3 miners were still inside. They screamed as the walls closed in. Taehyung was already moving. He dove back through the airlock tube into the collapsing ship. Jiwoo followed right behind him. The support beam was falling. It would crush the trapped miners in seconds. Taehyung got under it and pushed up with his arms. His muscles strained. His suit's servos whined with effort. But he held the beam. In Earth's gravity, this would be impossible. But Earth's gravity had made him strong. Jiwoo grabbed the miners and pulled them toward the airlock. "Move! Move!" she shouted. "Taehyung cannot hold it forever." The miners scrambled through the airlock. Jiwoo went with them. Then Taehyung let go of the beam and dove after them. The support structure collapsed completely just as he cleared the opening. The entire section of the ship crumpled like paper. On the bridge of the indomitable spirit, Captain Daesung had watched the whole thing. His heart had been pounding, but his face remained calm. "Well done, both of you. Now get back here so Dr. He-jin can check everyone out." The miners floated into the cargo bay where Dr. He-jin had set up her triage station. She moved from patient to patient with practiced efficiency. Radiation burns, decompression injuries, broken bones, nothing she had not seen before in Earth's emergency rooms. A Drachnid miner with a broken leg watched He-jin work. "You are very skilled, Doctor. Your hands are so steady. How long have you been practicing medicine?" He-jin smiled as she set the leg. 12 years. But I trained in a hospital that served a coastal city. We dealt with hurricane injuries, diving accidents, and tropical diseases on a regular basis. You learn to work fast and stay calm when disaster is just another Tuesday. The Drachnid stared at her. "Another Tuesday? Hurricanes are routine events where you come from?" Hyjin nodded. "We have a hurricane season every year. Multiple storms. Sometimes several at once. Cities prepare. Hospitals stock up on supplies. Life goes on. You adapt or you do not survive." 6 hours after beginning the rescue operation, all 47 miners were safely aboard the Indomitable Spirit. 0 casualties. Every single person rescued. The numbers should not have been possible. The math did not work. But the humans had done it anyway. Lieutenant Minho set course back to the Viridian Nexus. The return journey would be slower. They had injured passengers who needed careful handling. But they had time now. The crisis was over. In the cargo bay, the rescued miners sat together in shocked silence. They had been saved by a species they barely knew. A species that could navigate impossible dangers, lift incredible weights, and work in conditions that should have killed them. The Voskarite miner who had first spotted the humans approached Captain Daesung. "Captain, I must ask, how did you do this? How did your crew accomplish what should have been impossible?" Daesung shrugged. "We come from a difficult planet. Earth taught us to be strong, to be fast, to never give up when lives are at stake. What seems impossible to others is just another problem to solve for us." The miner looked at the human captain with new eyes. Eyes filled with gratitude, and just a little bit of fear. The Indomitable Spirit approached the Viridian Nexus like a warrior returning from battle. Word of the successful rescue had spread through every communication channel in the sector. By the time the human ship reached the docking bay, hundreds of aliens had gathered to watch. The docking bay was chaos. News reporters from a dozen species pushed forward with their recording equipment. Security officers struggled to maintain order. Everyone wanted to see the humans who had accomplished the impossible. Ambassador Thexilan waited at the main airlock. He had prepared formal greetings for the returning crew. But when the airlock opened and he saw the 47 rescued miners walking out on their own feet, he forgot his prepared speech. His antenna trembled with emotion he did not fully understand. "Captain Daesung," the ambassador said simply. "You have done something remarkable today. The Council owes you a great debt." Daesung bowed slightly, a gesture of respect from Earth culture. "We only did what needed to be done, Ambassador. Any crew would have attempted the same." Thexilan shook his head. "No, Captain. Any crew would have tried. Your crew succeeded. There is a significant difference." The formal debriefing took place in the council chambers. The room was filled with representatives from every major species. They all wanted to understand how the humans had achieved what their combined civilizations considered impossible. Captain Daesung stood at the central podium. Behind him, holographic displays showed the mission timeline, the aggressive navigation through the asteroid field, the radiation storm crossing, the dramatic rescue from the collapsing vessel. Every moment was documented. "We proceeded at maximum safe speed to reach the miners before life support failed," Daesung explained. "Lieutenant Minho navigated using enhanced reaction times and spatial awareness that are standard for human pilots trained in atmospheric flight." A Quelline counselor raised a tentacle. "Captain, the G-forces your crew experienced during those maneuvers should have rendered them unconscious. How did they remain functional?" Daesung pulled up Earth specifications on the display. "Our planet has gravity 1.4 times galactic standard. From birth, humans carry extra weight with every movement. Our bodies adapt. Our cardiovascular systems are stronger. Our bones are denser. What you consider extreme G-forces, we experience as uncomfortable but manageable." The council chamber buzzed with conversation. Many representatives were hearing these details for the first time. They had assumed Earth was just another habitable world. The reality was far different. Engineer Morvan asked the next question. Your ship sustained damage from the radiation storm, yet your systems continued operating at full capacity. How is this possible? Engineer Taehyung stepped forward to answer. Earth has natural radiation belts around it. Our homeworld is constantly bombarded with solar radiation and cosmic rays. Every ship we build is designed to operate in these conditions. What you classify as a dangerous radiation storm, we classify as elevated but manageable levels. More murmurs spread through the chamber. Earth sounded less like a paradise and more like a death trap. Yet humans spoke of it fondly. They called it home. They raised children there. The psychological implications were staggering. Dr. Heejin presented her medical report next. All 47 rescued miners are receiving treatment and are expected to make full recoveries. The most common injuries were radiation exposure, minor decompression trauma, and stress-related symptoms. A Voskarite medical officer leaned forward. Doctor, how did you treat radiation exposure so effectively? Our protocols require weeks of treatment in specialized facilities. Hyejin displayed her treatment methods. Human medical science evolved to handle radiation exposure as a routine concern. Our sun produces dangerous radiation levels. Our early space programs dealt with radiation constantly. We developed efficient treatments out of necessity. I simply applied proven techniques. She paused, then added, I should mention that human immune systems are also quite robust. Earth has an enormous variety of pathogens. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi. Our bodies fight off multiple infections simultaneously from birth. The relatively simple infections affecting your miners were straightforward to address. The medical officer sat back, his multiple eyes wide with shock. Your planet actively tries to kill you with diseases? Heejin smiled. Yes, it makes us stronger. Children who survive childhood on Earth have immune systems that can handle almost anything. It is simply how we evolved. Ambassador Thexilon called for a brief recess. The council members needed time to process what they were learning. In small groups, they discussed the implications. Humans were not just tough. They were the product of a world that had forged them through constant adversity. During the recess, several rescued miners gave their testimonials. They described watching Jiwoo carry injured crew members like they weighed nothing. They told of Taehyung holding up a collapsing support beam with his bare hands. They spoke of Dr. Heejin working for 18 hours straight without stimulants or rest. The Voskarite miner who had first spotted the humans shared his perspective. I have worked in mining for 30 years. I have seen professional rescue teams operate, but nothing prepared me for the humans. They moved through danger like it was their natural environment, because for them it is. A science team from the Voskarite Academic Institute requested permission to scan the indomitable spirit. They were convinced the ship must contain secret technology, advanced systems that explained its capabilities. Captain Daesung agreed to the inspection. The scientists spent hours examining every system. The engines, the shields, the life support, the navigation computers. When they finished, their report was anticlimactic. There was no secret technology. The ship was simply built to higher standards because those standards were necessary on Earth. One scientist explained it to the council. The human ship is over-engineered by our standards because Earth demands over-engineering. Their atmospheric flight systems must handle winds that would tear apart our aircraft. Their structural integrity must withstand tectonic activity. Their radiation shielding must protect against their own sun. Everything is built tougher because nothing less would survive. The realization spread through the council like a wave. The technology was not exceptional. The operators were. Humans had not invented something new. They had simply brought their normal standards to space. And normal for humans was extraordinary for everyone else. As the debriefing concluded, Ambassador Thexilon stood to address the council. We granted humanity probationary membership as a courtesy. We expected a minor species that would need our guidance and protection. We were wrong. Humanity does not need our protection. Perhaps we need theirs. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some agreed enthusiastically. Others expressed concern. A few voiced fear. Change was coming to the Galactic Council. The humans had forced them to reconsider basic assumptions about survival, capability, and the nature of civilization itself. Captain Daisung and his crew left the council chambers quietly. They had answered every question honestly. They had shared their capabilities openly. Now they could only wait to see how the galaxy would respond. "Do you think they will accept us?" Lieutenant Minho asked as they walked back to their ship. Daisung considered the question. "They will accept us because we just proved we can help them. Fear fades when people realize you are on their side. We saved 47 lives today. That speaks louder than any words." Behind them, the galaxy was changing. Humans had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. 3 days after the rescue, Captain Daisung received a formal invitation from the Galactic Council's Strategic Committee. They wanted him to present a lecture on human operational standards. It sounded boring, like a technical briefing, but Daisung understood the real purpose. They wanted to understand what humans truly were. The lecture hall was packed. Not just committee members, but scientists, military officers, diplomats, and journalists from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted answers to the same question. How did humans do the impossible? Daesung stood at the podium with a small smile. He had brought video footage from Earth, real recordings of human life. He thought it would be more effective than just talking about numbers and specifications. "Thank you for inviting me," he began. "Many of you have questions about how my crew performed our recent rescue mission. The answer is simple. We are products of our environment. Let me show you what that means." The first video showed a hurricane hitting a coastal city, winds strong enough to flip vehicles. Rain falling so hard visibility dropped to almost zero, waves crashing over seawalls and flooding streets. The aliens in the audience gasped and made sounds of horror. Then the video showed humans preparing for the storm. Boarding up windows, stocking supplies, emergency crews getting ready. After the storm passed, humans emerged and started cleaning up. Children played in the puddles. People helped their neighbors repair damage. Life continued. "This is a hurricane," Daesung explained. "We get several every year in certain regions. They are dangerous, but we have learned to prepare. We build our structures to withstand them. We have warning systems, emergency procedures. This storm killed 0 people because we knew it was coming." A Quellian officer raised a tentacle. "Captain, that storm would evacuate 3 of our major cities. You are saying humans simply board up their windows and wait it out?" Daesung nodded. "Yes, sometimes we evacuate if the storm is particularly bad. But usually we shelter in place and go about our lives afterward. It is normal." The next video showed an earthquake. Buildings swaying. Roads cracking. The ground moving like ocean waves. Again, the audience reacted with shock. Then the video showed people calmly walking to designated safe areas. Children practiced earthquake drills in schools. Engineers designed buildings with flexible structures that could bend without breaking. "Earthquakes happen frequently in certain regions," Daesung continued. "We cannot predict them accurately, so we prepare constantly. Buildings in earthquake zones must meet strict codes. Citizens learn what to do from childhood. Drop cover and hold on. It is taught in schools along with reading and mathematics." Ambassador Thexilon spoke up. "You teach children to survive earthquakes as part of basic education?" "Of course," Daesung replied. "We also teach them to swim in case of floods, to find shelter during tornadoes, to recognize dangerous weather patterns. Basic survival skills are part of growing up human. The planet requires it." Lieutenant Minho took over for the next section. He showed footage of military training exercises. Soldiers running through jungles in extreme heat. Others training in Arctic conditions so cold that exposed skin would freeze in minutes. Desert training where temperatures could kill from dehydration in hours. Human military forces train in every environment Earth offers, Minho explained. Jungle, desert, Arctic mountains, underwater. We must be ready for anything because Earth has everything. A soldier might deploy to a frozen wasteland one year and a tropical rainforest the next. Adaptability is not optional. He showed footage of pilots training in extreme weather, flying through storms, landing on carriers while waves crashed over the deck. Navigation when instruments failed. The alien audience watched in silence. This level of training seemed excessive, until they remembered that humans considered it basic preparation. "What you call extreme environment training, we call preparing for deployment," Minho said. "Because on Earth, extreme environments are just different parts of our planet. If we cannot handle variety, we cannot serve effectively." Dr. Hyjin presented the medical section. She showed statistics that made the audience uncomfortable. Human children face more potential lethal encounters before age 5 than most aliens experience in their entire lives. Falls from learning to walk in high gravity, infections from Earth's aggressive pathogens, allergic reactions, minor injuries that become serious without treatment. Human immune systems are in constant battle, Heejin explained. We are exposed to bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites from birth. Our bodies learn to fight multiple threats simultaneously. By adulthood, our immune systems are incredibly sophisticated. They have to be. She displayed a comparison chart. A human child surviving a simple infection often requires more immune response than treating most adult aliens for similar conditions. Our baseline is simply higher because our planet demands it. A Voskarite medical researcher stood up. Doctor, are you saying human children are in constant danger? Heejin shook her head. Not constant danger, just normal Earth childhood. We have medical care. Parents watch their children carefully. Most children grow up healthy. But they do face challenges that would hospitalize adult members of other species. They simply adapt and grow stronger. The final section was perhaps the most disturbing for the alien audience. Daesung showed footage of human recreational activities: rock climbing, skydiving, whitewater rafting, skiing down steep mountains, diving into deep oceans, humans voluntarily seeking danger for entertainment. We call these extreme sports, Daesung explained. Humans engage in dangerous activities for fun, to test ourselves, to feel alive. We have an entire tourism industry built around activities that would be classified as hazardous operations by galactic standards. He showed images of people jumping from aircraft with parachutes, climbing mountains without safety equipment, racing vehicles at deadly speeds. The psychological implications were staggering. Humans were not just capable of handling danger. They actively sought it out. Why? Ambassador Thexilon asked. Why do you do this? Why risk injury or death for recreation? Daesung smiled. Because we can. Because overcoming challenges makes us feel accomplished. Because humans evolved as problem solvers and risk takers. The ones who played it safe did not explore new territories, did not discover new resources, did not survive when conditions changed. We are descended from the humans who took risks and succeeded. The lecture concluded with a summary. Daesung displayed Earth's classification again. Class 12 Deathworld. High gravity, extreme climate variations, active geology, aggressive biosphere, frequent extinction events. Every factor that should have prevented complex life had instead created the ultimate survivors. We are not superhuman, Daesung said quietly. We are simply human. Our planet made us what we are. We adapted or died. For millions of years, Earth tested us, made us stronger, faster, tougher, more resilient. The Krageth Expanse rescue was not impossible for us. It was just another problem to solve. The lecture hall was silent. Then someone started clapping. Others joined. Soon the entire audience was applauding, not because they fully understood, but because they finally grasped the basic truth. Humans were different. Not better or worse, just different. Forged by a world that demanded excellence for survival. After the lecture, Thexilon approached Daesung privately. Captain, I must ask you something that has troubled me since we met. Are you warriors pretending to be diplomats? Is Earth preparing for conquest? Daesung looked the ambassador in all four of his eyes. No, Ambassador, we are exactly what we appear to be. Explorers, scientists, diplomats, people who want to make friends and learn from others. The fact that we can survive almost anything is simply convenient. We did not choose to be this way. Earth chose for us. He paused, then added, We have learned something important in our history. Strength without purpose is meaningless. We could conquer, yes, but why? We gain more through friendship than force. We survived Earth by working together. We will survive the galaxy the same way. Thexilon felt his antenna relax. He believed the human captain. Not because Daesung was particularly persuasive, but because the actions matched the words. Humans had risked everything to save aliens they did not know. That spoke to character, not conquest. Thank you, Captain, Thexilon said. Your presentation has given the Council much to consider. I believe you will find the galaxy more welcoming going forward. As Daesung left the lecture hall, he knew the revelation was complete. The galaxy now understood what humans were. The question was, what would they do with that knowledge? The weeks following Captain Daesung's lecture brought unexpected complications. The Galactic Council wanted to integrate humans more fully into their operations. But how do you write safety protocols for beings who consider danger normal? How do you establish guidelines for creatures whose bodies break most existing rules? Chief Engineer Morvan led a committee tasked with updating operational standards. The committee met in a conference room aboard the Viridian Nexus. Representatives from 6 species sat around the table, all looking frustrated. Human safety requirements were proving impossible to standardize. The problem is fundamental, Morvan explained, his gelatinous body rippling with stress. Human vessels operate at speeds and under conditions that would destroy most of our ships. Their environmental tolerances exceed our measurement scales. How do we create universal standards when humans exist outside the universal range? A Voskerite engineer suggested creating a separate classification system, Class D for Deathworlder specifications. But that felt like discrimination, like acknowledging that humans could never truly integrate with galactic society. Engineer Tai Hyung attended the meeting as a human representative. He listened patiently to the various proposals. Finally, he raised his hand. "May I make a suggestion?" Morvan gestured for him to speak. "Please, we need practical solutions." Taehyung stood and pulled up a display. Instead of trying to make humans fit galactic standards, adjust the standards to include human capabilities as the upper range. Set minimums based on the most fragile species. Set maximums based on the most durable. Human specifications become the ceiling, not an exception. He showed a chart with expanded ranges, temperature tolerances, gravity ranges, radiation exposure limits, pressure variations. Every scale now included human extremes as the upper boundary. It was elegant, simple, and it acknowledged that diversity was strength, not a problem to solve. The committee members looked at each other. Slowly they began to nod. This could work. It expanded possibilities rather than restricting them. Ships could still operate safely at galactic standard levels, but human vessels could push higher when needed. Another challenge emerged in the social sphere. A diplomatic dinner was held to celebrate improving human-alien relations. The event nearly became a disaster when the human delegation sat down to eat. Ensign Jiwoo reached for a small dish of what looked like red paste. She spread it on bread and took a bite. The taste was spicy, warming her mouth pleasantly. She smiled and complimented the chef. Across the table, a Quelline diplomat made a choking sound. "That is Cajun paste," the Quelline gasped. "It contains capsaicin compounds that are lethal to most carbon-based life forms. Why are you eating it?" Jiwoo paused mid-bite. "This is spicy food. We eat it all the time on Earth. Capsaicin is not dangerous to humans. It just creates a pleasant burning sensation. Some of us enjoy very spicy food as a challenge." The dining hall went quiet. Dr. Hejin stepped in to explain. Human taste receptors respond to capsaicin as heat, but our bodies process it safely. We actually cultivate plants specifically for their capsaicin content. We eat foods that would be classified as chemical weapons by many species. It is part of our cuisine. She pulled up a list of common human foods. Coffee containing caffeine, a stimulant drug. Chocolate with theobromine, toxic to many animals. Alcohol that damages cellular function. Fermented foods containing live bacteria. Raw fish, spicy peppers. Foods preserved with salt levels that would dehydrate most species. Ambassador Thexilan stared at the list. "You consume recreational poisons for pleasure?" Hijin shrugged. "We evolved as omnivores on a planet with limited food resources. We learned to eat almost anything. Our digestive systems can process compounds that would harm other species. Our livers filter toxins efficiently. What you see as poison, we see as flavor." The diplomatic incident was resolved, but it highlighted another integration challenge. Humans and aliens could not share meals safely. Restaurant menus needed complete separation. Food preparation areas required isolation. One species' delicacy was another species' poison. On a more positive note, Dr. Hejin was invited to join a galactic medical research team. Her insights into trauma recovery were revolutionizing alien healthcare. Species that required months to heal from injuries learned techniques that reduced recovery time significantly. She presented a case study to a medical conference. A Voskerite worker had suffered a broken limb in an industrial accident. Standard treatment required 6 weeks of immobilization and regeneration therapy. Hejin suggested adding physical therapy based on human recovery methods. The results were remarkable. The Voskerite recovered in 4 weeks instead of 6. The key was understanding that controlled stress promoted healing. Human bones broke more frequently due to Earth's gravity, so human medicine had perfected accelerated recovery. The same principles applied to other species. But it is counterintuitive, a Quellian doctor protested. Why would stress improve healing? Should patients not rest completely? Hyejin explained patiently. Complete rest leads to atrophy. Controlled movement stimulates regeneration. Blood flow increases. Muscle memory maintains. Bone density improves. Humans learned this because we could not afford long recovery times. Predators do not wait for prey to finish healing. We adapted techniques that kept us functional. Lieutenant Minho faced his own challenges. He was asked to train alien pilots in emergency navigation. The first session was a disaster. 3 alien students became disoriented within minutes. 1 passed out from nausea. Another requested immediate medical attention for what turned out to be motion sickness. Minho realized his mistake. He had been teaching the way humans learned, through intensive practice in challenging conditions. But alien physiologies could not handle that approach. He restructured the entire program. The new training focused on each species' natural advantages. Voskerites had excellent spatial awareness. Quellians processed multiple data streams simultaneously. Drachnids had superior pattern recognition. Instead of trying to make them human-like, Minho helped them maximize their own capabilities. The results improved dramatically. Alien pilots did not match human reaction times, but they did not need to. They developed techniques that worked with their biology rather than against it. The galaxy was learning that human methods were not the only path to excellence. A philosophical debate emerged among galactic scientists. If humans represented Deathworld evolution, what did that mean for civilization? The galactic standard had always been development on stable, benign worlds. Species evolved in relative safety, then developed technology and culture. But humans suggested a different path. Evolution through adversity, advancement despite danger, technology born from desperate need rather than comfortable curiosity. Neither path was better or worse. They were simply different. Ambassador Thexilan hosted a private discussion with Captain Daesung. They sat in the observation lounge, watching stars drift past. The ambassador spoke quietly. Your people are changing how we think about everything. Evolution, survival, the nature of strength itself. Daesung sipped his coffee, a drink that Thexilan could not consume without risking organ damage. That was not our intention. We just want to be part of the galactic community. To learn from you. To share what we know. Thexilan's antenna twitched thoughtfully. We spent millennia assuming our path was the only path. Safe worlds creating safe species, creating safe civilizations. Then you arrived. Shaped by danger, made strong through suffering. And you show us that survival is not about avoiding challenges. It is about overcoming them. He paused, then added, we are still learning how to work with you, how to integrate your capabilities without making others feel inadequate. But we will figure it out. Because despite everything that makes you different, you are remarkably easy to like. Daesung smiled. That is all we ask. A chance to prove we are friends worth having. The rest will work itself out. Integration was messy, complicated, full of misunderstandings and adjustments. But it was happening. The galaxy was making room for humanity. And humanity was learning that strength was not just about survival. It was about knowing when to be gentle with those more fragile than yourself. 6 months had passed since the Kragath Expanse rescue. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with representatives from across known space. Today was important. Today they would vote on humanity's full membership in the Council. Captain Daesung stood in the center of the chamber. He wore his formal uniform with the Earth insignia prominently displayed. Behind him, Dr. Hyejin, Lieutenant Minho, Engineer Taehyung, and Ensign Jiwoo stood at attention. They represented not just their crew, but all of humanity. Ambassador Thexilan addressed the assembly. 6 months ago, we granted humanity probationary membership. We expected a minor species that would need guidance and protection. We were wrong about many things. He gestured to displays showing human achievements. In these 6 months, human vessels have completed 17 rescue operations. They have saved 143 lives from situations we deemed unsalvageable. Human medical techniques have improved recovery times across 6 species. Human engineering has enhanced our emergency response capabilities. But more importantly, Thexilan continued, humans have taught us something profound. They showed us that civilization is not the absence of danger. It is the courage to face danger on behalf of others. It is strength used in service rather than conquest. It is survival skills turned toward saving lives. He paused, letting his words sink in. The debate about human membership has been heated. Some fear their capabilities. Others worry about setting precedents. But I ask you to consider what we gain versus what we risk. Humans ask only for friendship and the chance to help. In return, they offer abilities that could save countless lives. A Quellian counselor spoke up. Ambassador Thexilon makes valid points. But we must address concerns. Human capabilities far exceed galactic norms. How do we ensure equality when one species is so naturally advantaged? Daesung raised his hand, requesting permission to speak. Thexilon nodded. Captain Daesung, you may address the council. Daesung stepped forward. Respected members of the council, I understand your concerns. Yes, humans have advantages in certain areas, but we also have limitations. We cannot process data as quickly as Quellians. We lack the spatial awareness of Voskerites. We cannot multitask like Drachnids. Every species has unique strengths. He gestured to his crew. My team has learned more from working with your species than from any training Earth could provide. Dr. Heijin's medical advances came from studying Quellian regeneration techniques. Lieutenant Minho improved his navigation by learning from Voskerite spatial mapping. We are stronger together than apart. A Voskerite counselor stood. Captain, you speak of cooperation, but your species evolved as predators, as warriors. How can we trust that humanity will not eventually seek dominance? Daesung met the counselor's eyes calmly. We did evolve as predators, but we also evolved as social creatures. Humans survived not just through individual strength, but through cooperation. We hunted in packs. We built communities. We shared resources. Yes, we fought wars, but we also built civilizations based on laws and justice. He pulled up images from Earth's history. Our past includes both violence and compassion. We waged wars, but we also created art. We destroyed, but we also built. We are complex beings who learned that cooperation achieves more than conquest. We joined the Galactic Council not to dominate, but to learn and contribute. Dr. Heijin stepped forward. If I may add something, in my medical work, I have treated over 300 alien patients. Not once have I considered them lesser because their biology is different from mine. They are simply different. Variety is what makes the galaxy interesting. Humanity seeks friendship, not superiority. Lieutenant Minho spoke next. In my training programs, I teach aliens to maximize their own advantages, not to become like humans. Every species has potential. My goal is helping them reach it. That is what humans bring to the Council. Not dominance, but encouragement. Engineer Morvan, who had been skeptical from the beginning, surprised everyone by standing. I would like to speak in favor of human membership. 6 months ago, I doubted their capabilities. I thought they were reckless fools who would fail. I was wrong. His gelatinous body rippled as he spoke. Humans pushed me to reconsider fundamental assumptions. They showed me that what I thought were limits were simply boundaries I had accepted. Working with engineer Tae Hyung, I developed 3 new safety systems that are now standard across the fleet. Human perspective made me better at my job. One by one, other voices joined the discussion. Species that had been rescued by humans, scientists who had collaborated with human researchers, pilots who had trained with Lieutenant Minho. The testimony was overwhelming. Humans had proven themselves not through dominance, but through service. Finally, Ambassador Thexilon called for the vote. All in favor of granting humanity full membership in the Galactic Council. Indicate now. Lights appeared throughout the chamber as representatives cast their votes. Green for yes, red for no. The display updated in real time. Green lights outnumbered red by a significant margin. When the final count appeared, Thexilon's antenna trembled with emotion. The vote is unanimous. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and responsibilities therein. Welcome, humans. Welcome home. The chamber erupted in applause. Multiple species making their own versions of celebratory sounds. Daesung felt tears prick his eyes. His crew remained at attention, but he saw them fighting smiles. This was a moment they would remember forever. After the ceremony, Daesung stood on the observation deck of the Viridian Nexus. He watched ships come and go. Human vessels mixed with alien designs, crews of mixed species working together. The future he had hoped for was becoming reality. Engineer Tai Hyung joined him at the viewport. Quite a day, Captain. We are officially part of the galaxy now. No more probation. No more proving ourselves. Daesung shook his head with a slight smile. The proving never stops, Taehyung. We just earned the chance to keep proving, to keep helping, to keep learning. That is all we ever wanted. Dr. Heejin arrived with Ensign Jiwoo and Lieutenant Minho. The whole crew had gathered to watch the galaxy together. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts about how far they had come. "Do you think they will ever stop being amazed by us?" Jiwoo asked. "Every time I help someone, they look at me like I performed a miracle." "It is just what we do." Daesung considered the question. "Probably not, but we are still amazed by them too. They built all this." He gestured to the massive station without needing to conquer their planets first. Without fighting for every resource, they developed art and philosophy and music in ways we never did, because we were too busy surviving. "That is pretty impressive," Minho nodded. "Different kinds of strength. We bring survival skills. They bring centuries of peaceful development. Together we make something better than either could alone." A communication alert chimed on Daesung's personal device. He checked it and felt a familiar surge of purpose. It was another distress call. A scientific expedition trapped on an ice moon that was collapsing. The message specifically requested human assistance. "Here we go again," Taehyung said, reading over his shoulder. "How long until we can launch?" Daesung checked the mission parameters. "Give me 15 minutes to file the flight plan. Then we launch immediately. Those scientists need help and we are not going to let them down." The crew moved as one, heading toward the docking bay. They had done this dance many times now. Check equipment. Review mission details. Prepare for the unexpected. It was routine, but every mission mattered because every mission meant lives saved. Ambassador Thexilon watched from the station's command center as the indomitable spirit prepared for departure. He had watched this same scene dozens of times now, but it never failed to inspire him. Humans rushing toward danger to help others. Not for glory, not for profit, simply because it was the right thing to do. A Voskarite officer stood beside him. "They are remarkable, are they not? 6 months ago we worried about their capabilities. Now we rely on them." Thexilon nodded slowly. "We spent millennia believing we had reached the pinnacle of civilization by avoiding danger. Humanity taught us that true civilization is not the absence of danger. It is the courage to face it on behalf of others. They are not just remarkable, they are necessary." The indomitable spirit launched from the docking bay, its engines bright against the darkness of space. Inside, Captain Daesung settled into his command chair. Lieutenant Minho plotted the fastest course. Dr. Heejin prepared her medical bay. Engineer Taehyung ran system checks. Ensign Jiwoo coordinated with the stranded scientists. "All systems green," Minho reported. "Course plotted. Ready to jump to faster than light on your command, Captain." Daesung looked around the bridge at his crew. His friends, his family. Together they had accomplished the impossible. And they would keep doing it, mission after mission, rescue after rescue. Because that was what humans did. They survived. They adapted, and they helped others do the same. "Engage," he ordered. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, disappearing from view. Behind them, the Viridian Nexus continued its eternal watch over the galaxy. But things were different now. Better. The galaxy had its Deathworlders, and the Deathworlders had found their purpose, saving lives, making friends, proving that strength was not about domination,